Boom, 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 boom.
I think we can get started whenever you want. We've got a nice crowd here tonight.
Okay, I'm ready. What do I do? How come I don't see anybody?
They're all there.
Oh, go to
Yeah.
my gallery
You
view,
want to go to your
maybe.
gallery view?
What's going on? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We're all going to learn an Amiri Baraka poem to start this. All right. So all you got to here, we're going to try to beat the robot rhythmically. All right. So I'll give you the first line, then I'll snap my finger, and everyone at the snap of my finger will repeat the first line. See if we can beat the robot. All right. It's called Monday in B flat. That's the poem. And it's one of the first poems I learned that Amiri wrote. But when he wrote it, he was Leroy Jones. So even then, he was trying to be about imagery and efficiency, even back then. And then fast forward all the way to Somebody Blew Up America, which ran in at a clocked in at 10 minutes, sometimes 10:35. All right. Then after he did that, he went back to whittling and cutting and sculpting and editing. And when he died, his biggest thing was writing low coup, his idea of low coup. All right. So we're gonna start. I'll give you the first line of Monday in B flat by Leroy Jones, aka Amiri Baraka. Here we go. I can pray all day. So I'll say it, I'll snap, and then all you try to rhythmically get into sync. All right. I can pray all day.
I can
I
pray.
can pray all day.
Oh, y'all almost beat the robot. Oh, I love it. Here we go. We're gonna do it again. All right. You almost did it on the first shot. I love it. I can pray and here, monosyllables. Bam, 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 bam. Play them like that. So as a group, we'll call this our low coup choir today. As a group, think the first line is just single syllable words, slight pause in between each, slight, very slight. All right. I can pray all day.
I can
I can
pray
pray
all
all day.
day.
Very good. Next line. And God won't come.
And
And God
God
won't
won't
come.
come.
Next line. But if I call 911,
But
But if I
If
call
I call
911,
911,
last line, the devil be here in a minute.
the devil be
devil
here
be
in a
here
minute.
in a minute. What?
So we have all all monosyllable words until the last word. Minute. Right, let's try it one more time. I'll say it, repeat, but I'm gonna snap.
Okay.
I don't want to snap, but I'm gonna snap. All right, but we can beat the robot. You're already doing good. I do this with these little kids, not little kids, but high schoolers, and they're like freaking out. They freak out that they could beat the robot. It's amazing how young adults believe that digital technology, they think they control it until they realize they don't. Then the minute they realize they don't, they panic. So I got ninth graders, 10th graders, juniors, seniors in high school panicking when they realize, like, wait a minute, this thing got control of my life like I
What?
didn't realize. Okay, we're gonna
Right.
try one more time. Monday in B flat by Leroy Jones, aka Amiri Baraka. I can pray all day
I can
can
pray all
day.
day,
and God won't come.
And
and
God
God
won't
won't come.
come.
But if I call 911,
But
But
if
But
if
if
I
I
I
call
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 911,
911,
the devil be here in a minute.
the
the
devil
devil
will
devil
be
be
will
here
be
in
here
a
in a
here
minute.
in a
minute.
minute.
Would someone like to analyze that poem? Anybody? Yeah. And since most of you, okay, so now we're kind of beating the robot. You don't really need to be muted unless you have noise going on in the back. There's no noise going on in the back. Stay unmuted. And at any point you want to jump in, jump in. And if somebody's saying something, listen to them closely. All right. But you kind of get a good idea when someone's going to finish what they're saying. Be it reading a poem, doing a speech, like whatever. You kind of get a sense like they're almost over. This is almost over. That would be your chance to jump in. All right. So would anyone like to jump in and analyze Monday in B flat? And it's something, you know what? If you're all here, you must be somehow interested in Amiri Baraka, who I think is the most important poet New Jersey has ever produced. And we got a long line of poets in New Jersey
Mhm.
that the pals at DC are dope, and some of them are dope. But for me, Amiri Baraka, yo, he's the straw that stirs the drink, plain and simple. So now, would anybody like to analyze? Go ahead, Matthew.
What do you mean?
Do you know? Hold on a second. I got law enforcement. Oh no, that's a paramedic. Sorry. Hold on.
they after you?
Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh no 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 no.
I'm kidding.
Okay. Do you know Amiri Baraka?
Nope.
None of his poetry
Nope.
at all. Okay. Well, you know one now. All right.
Mhm.
You know one now. And if you don't remember it, and it should be easy to remember, but if you don't remember it, you can always go online and just say Monday in B flat, and it'll pop up. All right. So
Mhm.
you all should know this poem because what'll happen, you all are into poetry, you're writing, you probably perform, you go and read, you do workshops, whatever. If you know that by heart, it gives you clout. You carry weight with it. It's like if you walk in a room and you know some Shakespeare off the top of your head, you carry weight with it. So to me, Amiri's like William Shakespeare for me. All right, that may sound absurd to some people, but for me, so I want to be able to carry weight. If I call myself a poet or I'm around a bunch of poet people and I could carry Amiri Baraka's weight into the room, that gives me clout. All
Mhm.
right. So Matthew, the first thing or last thing you get from this workshop, learn that poem. Learn it's short, it's sweet,
Mhm.
it's to the
Oh
point.
yeah, I think I got it. But like, it's kind of crazy. I like it because it kind of just like carries you along. Like, okay, this is whatever. Till the last line, kind of just like, boom, it gets you. Like, it takes you
I,
in. It's just like all comes together at the end.
I guess nowadays they call it poetic punchline. I have never in my life understood what that meant, but I guess that's what that is. Anybody else want to jump in? Monday in B flat, Leroy Jones. Oh, also Matthew. His name before he changed it was Leroy Jones. Leroi. Got it? Jones. Anybody else? An analyzation of Monday in B flat?
I mean, I do like Amiri's earlier work too as Leroy Jones because there's a movement with with the name change as well, right? Like there was a certain power to his work as Leroy, talking about the self and the problems and not being able to solve those problems. And then like in the later works when it's Amiri's talking for the public, You know, so he's a driving force that has answers at this point, and we see it a bit in like that first stanza. You know, like I can pray and God won't come. So that's like Leroy, and then you could feel that transcendence of saying, but if I try to solve this problem, another problem's going to come, which is kind of interesting too, as that punchline or that turn at the end, because there is no solving of that problem for this poem. And a lot of the times the poems are supposed to be solving problems. So it's
No
like
solution.
he left it with
Yeah.
us. He left the solution for us to
No
solve.
solution. What amazes me about it, when I first learned it, now I'm talking about many years ago, I learned it. This is up my grandmother made me read. Like she made me read this. All right. So now what I was amazed as I got better at understanding what poetic expression is, I was shocked at how the entire thing was filled with these monosyllables, these
Mm.
single syllable words to the last word. And so when I first learned it, I learned about the music of it. My grandmother was beating me over the head about the music of it. She was so big on, okay, the content will come, the musicality will, all right, the content will come, but it must follow the musicality.
Mhm.
I got a grandmother telling me this. I'm like, I'm 10, I'm barely double digits. And she's telling me this. And then she's also telling me at the same time how to take my pulse. All right. Reg, Reginald, and it was Reginald, it was not Reg. Reginald, grab the left side of your neck. There's a large muscle there. All right. So you feel it right away. Slightly to the left of that muscle, if you just put your index finger or any finger, you can feel your pulse. It's the best place to check your pulse. And I'm like, okay. She said, now that boom, 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 or boom, 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 whatever that beat is, or whatever that two beat thing is, that's your internal rhythm. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, scaring me to death now. Like, because now at 10 or 9, however old I was, that's not something a 9-year-old would normally do. Check their pulse. All right, they're not really tripping like that. And then the minute I felt it, I was like, ooh. She said, my what? That's your rhythm. Then she said, if you're in school and the teacher calls you to stand up and say something, all right, if you checked your pulse before she called you and then you checked it after you stood up, it would be going faster. I'm like, what does this got to do with poetry? Right? And she says, but that's how most great writers write. They understand their pulse, how many times they're, and I'm like, you're bugging. I thought she was crazy. They understand how many times their heart beats per minute, things like that. I'm like, so now I'm an athlete at the time. I thought I was playing football, running track, basketball. And so she kind of freaked me out, kind of freaked me out. And now today, I use this all the time with kids.
Mm.
I used it this morning. I had them all checking their pulse, and the looks on these 23 kids, they were sophomores, the look on their faces this morning when they were checking their pulse. And then I had them read a rhyming couplet, all right? Like one by Shakespeare, one by Jay-Z, one by, I don't know, 4 or 5 rhyming, one by EPMD. Then I asked them to read it at the same boom, boom, whatever their boom, 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 whatever it was, to read it to that. They were freaking out. And then it was amazing to this one young lady. She felt her pulse quicken as she started to speak.
Mm.
And she just stopped. I said, what's the matter? She said, oh my God, this is scary. I said, what are you talking about? It's scary. She's like, I felt it going faster.
Mm.
I said, okay, what is that? You're living, you're alive. Okay, anyone else? It's kind of interesting though, right?
You know, I was just thinking how interesting those lines were because the idea that you could pray to God all day, like you had all the time in the world, but then 911 is an emergency. You've got to, things have to go fast, right? You have to quick. So it's like you could pray to God forever, nothing would happen. But like if you're in an emergency, you call 911 and the devil comes. It's like, whoa.
Okay, now check this out. Matthew, let me see your face, Matt. Click on speak, Matt.
Yeah. What up?
Okay. Do you know what do you know who the devil is?
The police.
Okay. Everybody knew who the devil was?
I mean, yeah, that's like out there.
Suppose he would have used another word beside devil, a metaphor
Mhm.
for police. And now he wrote this in the
Wow.
the 60s. All right. Suppose he would have used another metaphor for police. Like suppose he would have said Gestapo. Would Gestapo have fit?
Mm-hmm.
Would Gestapo have fit? I could pray all day and God won't come. But if I call 911, Gestapo be here in a minute. Would that work? Is that better than devil?
Doesn't have the same impact.
Because rhythmically, musically, or contextually?
Yes.
I think all of them, but I was thinking of another word. I guess in the UK would say pigs. So I was thinking that doesn't even make sense. Like
no, but that was a big word during the time when he wrote this.
Yeah, it would have been.
Which is why do you say that, Jasmine? Because the next thing I was gonna say is pig was the popular word when he wrote this. But pig, there's nothing musical about that word. It's like clan or brick or rock. All right. So there's nothing poetic about pig. That's what makes people brilliant poets. They take words that are unpoetic and make them poetic, like fake or phony. Which one is more poetic? Think about it, fake or phony. So the construction of the word dictates whether it's poetic, musical, concrete, or whatever. So who would pick fake? Who would pick phony? Basically the same thing. All right.
I would pick phony.
How do you decide on making that decision? How do you guys as writers or poets, how do you make decisions on your choice of language? Which is all
we were talking about monosyllabics, but I would pick phony because you can really stress phony. You know, like that person's a phony. Yeah, you know, it's like fake. Yeah.
So if you were in a jazz group and phony was your solo, you could take phony as your solo or fake as your solo. You would take phony.
Yeah, because you can bend it.
You can bend it. Okay, so what does that mean to everyone within earshot? What does that mean? You could bend it.
I mean, like bending musically means that you're kind of stressing a note. So it starts one way and it turns into another note. So if we're talking about it poetically, like you just say it differently, or you stretch out. Yeah. You stretch out the first syllable, so it'll be like phony.
How valuable are the vowel sounds when it's time to bend it?
Very.
Right.
Very.
You think most poets know that? Performance poets?
Yo, actually I didn't. And I started for like performance videos and my YouTube videos, I started doing the AEIOU exercise. Yeah, that you were talking about, because it really gets you used to speaking. Yeah. So I suggest anyone that's like a teacher, has to do a public speaking or a presentation, whatever, just do AEIOUs for 30 seconds because you'd be surprised. It helps you not trip over the rest of your words.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's actually a lot more than just those, but there's definitely tons of those that just like syllables and words and stuff that that you don't think about. And you like the word acts, like acts, like acting. The word act, it's not acts. It's you don't act something. You gotta say the C and the T, not just like an X. Or facts, act fact. You gotta make sure you gotta say the CT by the end of it. And
your skill as a performer dictates that you learn how to play it. Right? You have to think thespian, you have to think acting skills, you have to think phonetic skills, you have to think enunciation skills, all right? And whatever you can do to make those tighter, all right? Because that's funny you use that word, all right? Because ACTS and ASKS, most people I know could say both of those words and they could say both of those words in one poem and they would both sound like the same word.
Exactly. And that's why you gotta, there's just like, or leather. That's another hard word for some people because they just like leather. Like they just kind of like mumble it through the word.
I hear that in ARE and OUR. I hear it all the time. I hear people all the time. And if you're the writer / performer, once you put it down, whether you're putting it on a legal pad or pumping it into your digital device, once you read it, that should grab your attention and go like, when that comes around, I got to deal with it. And this is the device that I always talk about is writing words that fit in your mouth.
Yeah.
All right. Writing, and the strongest performers also happen to be the strongest writers because they know incomprehensible was a beautiful, poetic, intellectual exercise, but that doesn't fit in my mouth.
Yeah.
That's incomprehensible. incomprehensible. So that could mess up my flow. If
Yeah,
I cannot clearly
Mhm.
that's how I
mess
write.
up my flow, you know? And here, Baraka, this is one of the reasons he was genius. Because this dude knew jazz. I don't know nobody that knew jazz. I don't personally know, maybe my father, but I don't know nobody besides my father and Amiri Baraka. I don't know which one knows the most about jazz, but dude knew jazz. And that means he loved jazz. And whether he played an instrument or not, he loved jazz music. So now you're talking about a guy who's coming up at a time when bebop is popping. No lyrics. All right, the lyricism comes from the playing of these instruments, and they was flying. So he talking about Charlie Parker flying, Dizzy Gillespie flying on his horn, Miles Davis flying in the early part of bebop.
Coltrane.
John Coltrane comes in, he's flying, Dexter Gordon. So now Amiri's writing, he's coming up, he loves that music, and all of a sudden he starts to write. And if you met him, if you hear him talk about lectures, he always had music playing when he wrote. He always had music going on, and unless he was out in the world somewhere. But if he was home, or he was in a crib, or just at a resort, he had music playing all the time. So it's not surprising that his music in his poetry is so jazz-like in the riffs.
Mm.
Okay, here. Here's the second poem that I learned. All right. Now think about Monday in B flat, and now watch the progression. All right. This is called Rhythm Blues. Now here, look at the title, Rhythm Blues. Everybody, give me an idea. Somebody give me an idea. What is that title? Is there a picture attached to it? Is there a meaning attached to it? Is it an intellectual exercise attached to it? What does that mean to anybody in the room? Rhythm Blues.
Makes you think of rhythm and blues.
Rhythm and blues. Anybody else? Rhythm blues.
Yeah, just like the music types. That's it. There's a sound attached, but I don't think I
There
have
you
really.
go, right there. Matt, you just nailed it. Listen to the sound of it. Forget about trying to analyze or define what the two words together mean. Listen to it. No matter who's sitting in this room, you could not mess up saying that word or that title. There's nobody sitting here right now that could mess that title up because of the way the words are constructed, the way he plays one word against another. All right. Rhythm blues. It literally makes you say it correctly.
Mm.
Anybody else give me an idea? Is there a picture that's attached to it? Is there something intellectual about it that you get? But musically, rhythm blues, right? And I learned this before I ever met him. When I met him, and I actually had the audacity, I actually became good friends with him. All right. But could you imagine the audacity to walk up to him and say, "Hey, do you ever read rhythm blues anymore?" And the look he had on his face, he looked at me like, how would you even know that? Like that's how he was looking at me, like rhythm blues. It stopped him in his tracks, right? And I had a book I was trying to get him to sign, but it stopped him in his tracks. And he said, like, I haven't read that in decades. That's my favorite poem, bro. I call him bro. That's my favorite poem, bro. I love that poem. Okay, here's Rhythm Blues, everybody. Rhythm Blues by Leroy Jones. I am the boogeyman, the woogie man, catch as catch can. The rabbits, the monkey, blue hard, blue slick, blue slow, blue quick, blue cool, blue hot, everything I am, everything I'm not. Slave boy Leroy from North Hill. If capitalism don't kill me, racism will. I don't mean to laugh, but and then he said it to me, not that time, but many years later, we were doing we had a gig at Aaron Davis Hall, City College, up on 145th Street, Harlem. So we had this gig, and it was Miguel had what was Miguel's book called? He had a book, and we brought all these artists in to interpret poems in this book of his. I forget the name of that. But anyway, so we took my brother Calvin, myself, and Eileen. We took Amiri back from Harlem to New York. I mean to Newark. Right? We was at his designated driver. So we're heading back, and I'm bugging him now because now I know him. All right, and I'm bugging him. Yo, what's up with rhythm blues, bro? You want to kick that up? And he said it right, and he was kind of stumbling over it because he didn't really he knew it, but he knew it, So he never forgot it, but he didn't really know. And then when I read it, I said, yo, check, I said, I could do this better than you, bro. And he's the nerve of me, right? Yo, I could do this better than you. And I kicked it. He was like, he was so impressed. Then he tried to make us stop at Kentucky Fried on 125th Street to get some chicken. And the last person in the world I would have thought be trying to get some fried chicken would have been Amiri Baraka. He said, yo, I know y'all want some chicken, right? It's Saturday night. We up in Harlem. Let's go to, no, what? Dimitri, you a Harlem person. Olivia, you a Harlem person. What is the chicken joint that's on the corner where the subway is, right on 25th? Does anybody know? Right near the Magic Johnson Theater, but the stairs that go down, right? It's Popeyes. Okay, so it was Popeyes. It wasn't Kentucky Fried. It was Popeyes. Thanks, Olivia. Popeyes. And so we driving.
I know where every Popeyes is in Harlem.
Oh, that's not a good sign, Olivia. All right, I ain't gonna tell on you though. Yo, so now we're leaving Aaron Davis Hall, and we driving from there, taking him home. All right, and he says, "Yo, I know y'all want some fried chicken, right?" And just hearing fried chicken coming out of Amiri Baraka's, it's like was kind of stunning. Because as much as I heard him read poetry and talk about colored people acting like coons and minstrels and like all the caricatures and how he talked about Spike Lee's movies and say Spike Lee's movies are characters of black people. They're not real. Here, a low coup by Amiri Baraka about Spike Lee. Okay. A Spike Lee joint is a Negro reefer. It makes believe it gets you high.
Wow.
Yo, them two was at each other's throats. They was at each other's throats about the Malcolm X movie, right?
Word, I didn't know that.
Oh my God. It was like, it started off this spike. The whole thing started because Amiri was like, I know, first of all, I hate Spike Lee's movies. And he said it's on Like It Is. This is public knowledge. I hate Spike Lee's movies, okay? Like he would even say this, like, who needs a more better blues? Right? He just said in front of me, who even needs a more better blues? But I know he's gonna mess up Malcolm X's movie because all he's gonna do is do that whole caricature minstrel stuff at the beginning. Then when it gets to the political part, he's gonna screw it up. So that's his take on it. So they was going at it. Then in discussions with him, but even hearing him lecture on television, national television, he said that this all started because Spike Lee called him up, said like, yo, I want you to write something about me making the movie Malcolm X. And Amiri said, you don't want me to do that. You don't want me to do that. And he said that Spike said, I'll give you $3,500. He said, okay, it's on. Right? I'll give you $3,500. And then when he wrote it, it was on because Spike freaked out. He freaked out. He couldn't believe that homeboy was in his ass like that. He could not believe it. And from that point on, they was at it. He got another low coup. 2 words. Spike lie.
Ooh.
Spike lie.
Wow.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What does that got to do with poetry? Everything. Because as I got to know him, he spoke poetically.
Yeah.
He was also funny. He was funnier than Richard Pryor and probably smarter. He was funnier than Richard Pryor to me. Richard Pryor times 10. All right. And I'm sure he was smarter than Richard. Richard obviously was a smart guy, but I'm sure Amiri was something. He's an intellectual. All right. And so being around him and learning, just listening to him talk. We were at the University of Virginia. All right. Miguel Algarin, Jimmy Santiago Baca, Latin Empire, which is a hip hop duet from the South Bronx. Who am I leaving out? And Amiri and Amina, and then Tazaki Shange. All right. We there for 5-day residency. We did the final day, we did a reading. And it was like, before that time, I don't think I had read more in front of 300 people. That day, there had to be 1,000 people in this space, whatever the state, one of these spaces. I'm like, whoa. And I was going first because at that point in my little career, I always wanted to go first because I didn't want to sit around and listen to the bullshit poetry that was coming after. like whether it be an open mic or feature. Can I go first? But funny, most people didn't want to go first.
Hmm.
Most in the first couple of years, first 5 years I was doing poetry at the New Rican, nobody wanted to go first.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
what they were all nervous and ups, and I don't know where the nervousness or the anxiety came from, but so many people refused to go first. And I said, I'll go because to me it was like I've done a lot worse things than feeling anxious or nervous about reading first in front of a bunch of people. Like there's more things I could be concerned about or scared of or fearful of or that will build anxiety. So now I'm going first, and I'm low person on the totem pole. Intozaki Sean Gay. I mean, between Miguel, Jimmy, Intozaki, Amina, and Amiri, they must have had 25 books of poetry
Yeah.
combined between them. And here I got, at the time, I don't think I had 30 poems.
Hmm.
And the reason I even got to go, because Miguel heard me read La Metadona, Esta Cabrona at the cafe, and him and I hooked up because that was his boy. Miguel Pineda was his boy. So me, luckily, all right, spiritually, whatever, timing is everything. So me reading that poem got me hooked up with Miguel. Next thing I know, a couple of months later, I'm going to the University of Virginia for a 5-day residency with them
Mm.
cats, them heavyweights. And I got paid lovely too. So now I'm sitting around listening. So Amiri's and Miguel here, this is between us. Well, I guess it's not between us because this is digital. But Miguel and Amiri go way, way back, way back.
Hmm.
You wouldn't even believe how close these two were. So let me tell you the first thing I learned about the two of them when they were hanging out. We were hanging out after our workshops or performances. They would hang out in the lobby, and we weren't in a hotel. They gave us a whole dorm to stay in. Like there must have been the dorm must have been it probably held 32 rooms, but they gave how many, I don't think maybe 7 or 8 of us. We all were in this room, this dorm room or building. And so at night they would go out and get their alcohol and whatever and sit in the lobby and just be kicking it. What I learned listening to them just kicking it, getting a sip on, right? It was unbelievable. It's like a PhD. But now check this out. What I didn't find out until the final performance is that Amiri and Miguel, they used to put 151 rum in little water bottles, like Poland Spring bottles or Crystal Geyser. It looked like water, right? So it wasn't until Amiri's walking over to me and I'm like, "What does that smell, bro?" Oh, quiet. We got gin. Okay. I said, "Wait, we get ready to do a reading." I got it. Miguel and Amiri could get their drink on. It wouldn't affect anything they did.
Well,
It wouldn't affect anything they did. So now Miri's walking up to me. He says, "Okay, you're starting." He just walks up to me. He says, like, "Yo," he don't only say you're starting. He says, like, "What you gonna kick? How you gonna set this off?" I said, "I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea." He said, "I kind of like that poem you read in the workshop, the Clarence Thomas poem." I was like, "Oh, wow, Mary Baraka knows the title or something about one of my poems." Oh, and I said, "Yeah, well," and it was kind of a popular poem at the time for me, like a signature type thing. So I would read it, or people would ask to hear it, because it was the same time Clarence Thomas did his Dirt with Anita Hill, right? Same time. All right, so if you just mentioned Clarence Thomas or Anita Hill's name back in the day, and you had a poem or some way to express it, people were on it. They would listen. So he says, "You should read that." And I said, "Nah, man, I've been reading that for 8 months. It's kind of old." Right? I'm talking to Mary Baraka. And I said, "This is kind of old. I wrote about 8, 9 months ago, but I've been reading it, blah, blah, blah." Dude looked at me, took a sip of the Poland Spring bottle, and he says, "Well, I'm going to set off my set with a poem I wrote 25 years ago." Right? I was like, "Whoa." Then he says, "And you got to set it off right." He says, "Because," and this goes back to him speaking poetically. This is exactly what he said to me. "You have to set this off correctly because this ain't the Bible belt. This is the belt buckle." That's what he said to me. "This ain't the Bible belt. This is the belt buckle." And then he said, "And there got to be some clan connected crackers in the audience who who would like to throw a he didn't say hand, throw a bomb on me. So you need to set it off so that nothing happens. He actually said that. He said clan connected cracker. And I know it wasn't scripted. And I know the belt buckle thing wasn't scripted. So he spoke poetically.
Hmm.
All right. Anybody got any Amiri stories or ideas? Or because I'm going to keep reading some of his poems to move this thing forward and hope y'all will analyze and maybe get into the swing. Anybody?
I wanted to jump off what you were saying in terms of the surprise.
Cam, what's the deal?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good.
I loved what you were saying about the surprise of meeting him. And while you were talking, I looked up his obituary in the New York Times, and it says Amiri Baraka, polarizing poet and playwright, dies at 79. And it just sort of nails that. Do you know what I mean? It nails what he had to carry around, right? Because I remember my writing professor was Oyamo. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
and so Oyamo brought Amiri to campus, and I was his girl. And so we sat down, and it's sort of like what you were talking about. I was part of the conversation, but it's more like I was present. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of
and
course I do.
yeah. And so Oyamo and Amiri were talking, and I just, like you said, I was getting my education. And I remember, people said he's a woman hater, he's this, he's that. And then you get in his presence, and it's like what you were saying about the fried chicken. And it's none of that. Part of it is like I'm more playwright than poet, but I like to think I've got poet in me. But that's what he's doing. He's performing in his writing, he's performing in his performance, and then there's him. And being around him is extraordinary. And the opposite of all of this, with the New York Times, how they want to eulogize him and all of that. So I just wanted to say, I wanted to say that. And I also wanted to say that it's very powerful to me that you're bookending this with Pinheiro and Amiri, because it's like, for me, in my education, those were two pivotal, people, playwrights for me to connect with. And so that feels very, very powerful. And then
Feels right.
yeah, it feels right. And it also goes back a little bit to what we were talking about in terms of this canon, and how the canon, in these, kind of like the institution you're talking about in Virginia, and in so many institutions, about, they're all hung up about their quote unquote canon, and they're missing, so much, they're just missing so much. And also beyond missing, like they might teach Dutchman, like Dutchman's become something that people talk about now, but then
the black man dies at the end. That's why.
yeah. That's right.
That's
It's like
why
lesbians.
got a lot of
Lesbians and women commit suicide, or they die in the end. And anyway, and then also I wanted to say the poem that you opened up resonated as well, in terms of like the poetry of the whole workshop, in that it resonated with me, like in Blink Your Eyes, like it's a different version of different poetic version of telling that story about the cops. And
exactly.
and so all of this just feels it just feels good feeling you speak on me, like feeling it trench over me, because it's hitting all of those things. And it's, I miss it, like I miss being around it. I miss not having to say things and just getting it, you read that poem and it's just a head nod, and then again, it's reminiscent of that privilege I had to sit in that room with two men, Oyamo and Amiri, who what they walked, what they embodied, how they looked, and what they lived through, and still shined. Do you know what I mean? Like these to me were shining human beings, despite all of the labels and other junk thrown on top of them. So anyway, thank you.
I want to be like them.
Yeah, I mean, Oyamo, I haven't spoken to him in forever. He's retired now, but he was always, the weight of whiteness was always on him, and he always entered the room with a smile. You know, like he was always the only Black dude at a very white institution in University of Michigan, which is, you know, likes to pretend it's diverse, but isn't really
It
diverse.
ain't. It's
And,
not.
and
I
nope,
feel that.
yeah. And he just would walk in there and he would just, you know, teach Pinheiro and teach, you know, Baraka and shake stuff up and then let everybody sort it out, you know, and so you're reminding me of all that, and I'm grateful.
Well, it all becomes revolutionary because it takes courage to do that. You say you get an MFA and you got a PhD and you're a professor at one of these institutions, right? You can be revolutionary in your choices of your syllabus. Your syllabus could become revolutionary, all right? But you don't even get that kind of courage if you're not with a group of people. So Ayamo just being hooked up with Amiri, that's power because they're both believing the same thing. Like one thing I don't personally know Oyamo, but I know this: the both of them want to dust off. They want to take the dust off the shelves of this high paid poetic silence, the elbow patch poetry. They want to do away with that because, and then Mary be the first one to tell you, like, hey, wait a minute, what about my speech? What about my rhythms? What about my stories? What about my narrative? All right, you telling me about here, you getting awards as a poet for writing a poem about leaving Grand Central Station on the 515 to get home to your middle class existence with your wife and your daisies growing and your white picket fence. He says that ain't me. I look out my window, Chinese restaurant, liquor store, church, Nation of Islam, temple, right? I don't see no trees, no grassy concrete. All right. But there's like I was talking about, say cool, the second go around. There's poetry in the projects. There's poetry in the places where we live. And since the world's shrinking, all right, it's shrinking, more of us are not elbow patch as opposed to project. You ain't got to live in the project to write project poetry. All right. Project poetry is a metaphor for cats or people or human beings that's catching hell. That's what project poetry is. High paid silence or elbow patch poetry, that's something else. The hell that elbow patch poets catch is self induced. They create this problem themselves. Can you imagine? All right. So, okay, here. Anybody else? Thanks, Kim. Yo, Kim is a wonderful playwright. I read her plays. She's been at my festival. Plus, she's a wonderful human being. Kim, you should read. Kim, I just finished reading 113 scripts for next year's festival if it happens. I'm telling you, they were awful.
I'm so sorry.
Kim, they were awful.
Yo, the wait right before you revealed that they were awful.
They were awful. And yet, Kim, there were probably 4 or 5 that are some of the best plays I've ever read as artistic director of the festival. There were 4. There's a woman who submitted, and she had been in the festival before. She's kind of like she was not disciplined as a writer the first time I read her script, but it had a lot of juice to it. So I let her in because she'd work it out. All right. And she got one of the audience prizes and everything. She submitted another one. When I read it, I was stunned.
Wow.
I was stunned. Kim, I called her. I don't call nobody. I don't talk to nobody. I called her and said, like, yo, you don't know me. My name's Reggie Gaines. Oh, yes, I do. You put me in your festival, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, you just wrote something that I've never read before. It should be a screenplay. It should be here. If Alfred, I said to her, if Alfred Hitchcock read your script, he'd want to make a movie out of it.
Wow.
Right? And so now I got a little clout. I know what I'm talking about. Do you know that this poor woman, instead of taking this and going like, yo, okay, I'm running, I said, you need to figure out a way. I mean, I'm going to put you in a festival, but you need to figure out a way. Forget the festival. That's a one-off. You need to figure out a way to make this happen. If you could figure out a way to make this happen, your world changes overnight, but you got to do it. And the reason I'm even bringing this up now, because that's Amiri Baraka. Make your own newspapers. make your own theater, create your own recording places. All right. That's what Amiri was about. Self, united fronts. All right. Be it poetry, essays, whatever. Be able to do for yourself. Anybody else?
Hey, Reg, can I ask you a creative question?
Of course.
Okay, so let me
What's
just circle
up?
back. I had a conversation the other day, and you made me just think about it when you talked about project poetry. Um, do you think that when you're writing and creating, that it's important for you as the individual, as the writer, to experience the things that you're writing about, or do you just let your creative mind take you wherever it is that it takes you?
The more you stay inside of yourself, all right, for emotion, feeling, inspiration, all right, you're going to tell better, more authentic, or truer stories. But if you want to be creative, you got to step outside of that comfort zone, all right? Do research. Don't ever assume, but do the research, figure it out. If you're motivated to write about something that you don't know jack about, here, perfect example. Check this out. I am so sick of hearing poems about cops shooting black people, right? I'm sick of hearing them because, and as Amiri would say, the only thing you're looking for as an artist is truth and beauty. Can you figure that out? That's how we beat this system, truth and beauty. All right. So now, I'm hearing poetry all the time. I'm doing readings all the time. Just because the COVID's happening, I'm not stopping. I'm out in the world. I'm hearing it. I'm living it. I'm listening to it all the time. How in the world are we in this pandemic situation and nobody's been able to come up with that thing? That thing. All right. Where's somebody blow up America? All right. There's none of us sitting here that don't have some idea of Amiri Baraka's Somebody Blew Up America. Where's for the, where is our poem? So now, creative, could you write a poem here? You know the Floyds, you know the Michael Browns, you know the Trayvons, the Breonna Taylors, you know that because it's
Right.
everyday news, right? Can you put yourself in the body of one of them, laying on the ground, looking up at either the cops or the paramedics? Could you write a poem from that perspective? Because you don't know shit about it because you ain't been shot. You ain't dead. You ain't laying there dying. But how creative would you have to be to write that poem from the point of view of the black kid who just got shot by the police for all the wrong reasons and what's in his mind as air oxygen's leaving his body? That's creative. You write that and you get up in front of a bunch of people, I'd be like, damn, he don't look like he been shot. All right. Here, I wrote that Air Jordan's poem. Do you know people were looking at me like I robbed, that I shot somebody and took their sneakers? That's creativity. I didn't do that. I read some article in the newspaper and I started thinking, I wasn't thinking about the act. I was thinking about the kid who died, right? Like, and all I was thinking when I was starting to write it, who speaks for this kid? Who speaks for the 16-year-old that got shot and killed and his Jordans got snatched and he's dead? Who speaks for that 16-year-old from South Bronx? That's all I was thinking about when I was writing it. And
No,
so
that's an excellent point. Yeah. You make an excellent point because I think that's the point that I was trying to make, that, and you almost give it a combination of the two, because your mind, even though you're not there, but your mind is able to go there, and you can relate in a sense, and so it makes your word. Yeah. So it makes your words so much more powerful.
Truth
So
and
when
beauty.
you got
And
it.
how do you make? And so I wanted to write from the kid, the 16-year-old's perspective, and I was
Mhm.
trying it, and it was like I don't have it. I don't have the ammunition. In other words, and
Right.
all we have are 26 letters of the alphabet, the words. All right, so all we have is our ammunition as writers. But I didn't have it from that point of view. So what did I do next? Well, let me be the killer.
Mm.
Let me be the killer. because now at least I ain't never killed nobody. I never, but I've wanted material things to such a degree. I wouldn't kill anybody, but just thinking as a kid, what would I do if I said, Dad, I need a pair of Adidas Superstars? Yeah, they 1999, blah, blah, blah. Well, go cut the lawn or go take out the garbage, go wash the bathroom. I don't want to go scrub the tub. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do that to get them sneakers. So now you go there, an actual life experience, something you're emotionally attached to, ain't got nothing to do with that. Me scrubbing the tub of, where my 9 brothers and sisters and myself are in. All right, so it's filthy. I got 9 brothers and sisters. It's filthy. I don't even go near it. Like, that's disgusting. But I want them sneakers so bad, I'm gonna scrub that tub till it's white. It's gonna be as white as them Adidas Superstars I'm gonna go buy. You feel me? So
Yeah,
now
I
I'm
got
taking
you, man.
this actual experience, and now I want them sneakers as bad as I wanted the other sneakers. And I'm in my scrubbing the tub. Now I'm gonna go shoot somebody in the head and take them, which I don't know
Yeah.
nothing about.
And with that too, make sure you do your research over like the happenings, the backgrounds too. A lot of my writing has to do with like my thing I'm working on now, that is like my little collection, I guess, is kids in cages. Like they can't be heard, especially within the tongue, the free speak over here. So like, how am I supposed to I gotta be their tongue for them within this language sometimes, because like they ain't be able to do it. But I haven't been in a cage myself. I haven't been in that thing. I was born in the United States, so I don't know that. But you just start talking to people, you start researching, you start hearing interviews, all this other stuff, and just getting all this information of like how other people have felt in these situations. Then pull out your own experience, because you're talking about your own people right there too.
Matthew, what's your cage metaphor?
My
What's
cage.
your life's cage metaphor? And how do you, once you identify that, you can pull from it. What is your life's, like here, you not being snatched from your mother and father and put in a cage in Tijuana somewhere, all right? You don't know that. That's beyond you. But what is your caged metaphor? You
There's
got
too
it
many.
somewhere.
Too many cages around
You got to decide, you got to chop it down, edit it, sculpt
yeah.
it. This is the one that's going to motivate you to write the most authentic truth and beauty poem.
For me, yeah. For me, I think it's my bubble that I'm in. The town I'm from, Storm Lake in Iowa, most diverse town in the entire state, probably in this like entire sector of the Midwest. You drive 7 minutes that way, 10 minutes that way to any nearest town, 99% white. Just is. So I feel like I'm within a cage of colored people surrounded by white communities who see us differently, who they think that cops are the ones who are like infesting the schools because we need it. We have metal detectors and all this other stuff, but we don't. We the same as any other school. If not, we doing better. But they always be getting on us for that stuff. So I always feel like I can't leave the town safely. Like I can go anywhere in town wearing a sweater that says like, this sweater's like, the truth will not be whitewashed. It's for like a Thanksgiving one. I wouldn't wear this outside of the town because I'd be too scared if I had to stop by for gas at a Casey's to wear this sweater into any like, oh, Casey's, you don't know that. It's a gas station. I'd be too scared to walk into a gas station wearing this because I don't know who'd be looking.
Okay, well, here, then take a lesson from Amiri Baraka or Ayamo or Malcolm X or Fannie Lou Hamer or Harriet Tubman, all right? Or as Dick Gregory once said, check this out. You need to write. You remember this, Matthew. Dick Gregory said, Malcolm was a good wolf ticket for all of us who is cowards. Malcolm was a good wolf ticket for all of us who are cowards. You know what a wolf ticket is?
Nope.
Somebody tell Matthew what a wolf ticket is. Anybody jump in. Somebody sitting here knows what a wolf ticket is. Nobody knows what a wolf ticket is. Dimitri, you don't know what a wolf ticket is.
I do not.
I'm shocked. You from North.
Probably
Karen,
has something to do with like Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf getting into.
No.
Wait, check it out. So now I say wolf ticket. The image that goes in Karen's head is that. And yep, and check it out. That is exactly what it is because
Oh,
the wolf, here, tell me the story of the wolf. Tell everybody the story of the wolf.
yeah. The
Not the
wolf
whole story, but what does the wolf
disguises himself as, you know, the grandmother and gets into the house of Little Red Riding Hood.
So the whole idea is fear.
Yeah.
Fear. Okay,
Yeah.
so Malcolm was a good wolf ticket for all of us who was cowards. So that
Right.
means Malcolm would step up and say what needs to be said to the wolf.
Yeah. Right.
To the wolf. Like, did the grandmother step up and say, like, yo, get out, get from around here if I shoot you? All right. No, but it played out. What happened to poor Little Red Riding Hood?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to her in the end? So in a
Yeah.
way, you are right on point with Little Red
Well,
Riding Hood.
let me chime in, Reg. Let me chime in, Reg. So my idea of a wolf ticket is almost kind of the noise without substance. It's almost like if I would say to you, Matthew selling wolf tickets.
Oh, you mean like crying wolf? You mean like when you cry wolf and you like that? Yeah.
It's almost like if you were a Malcolm hater, you would say, Malcolm was, selling wolf tickets, meaning that there's a lot of noise with what he's saying, but there's no substance with what he's saying.
Okay, so when Dick Gregory said it, this is the early, Malcolm's dead by 65. So Dick Gregory said this somewhere between 1960 and 1965. So when Dick Gregory said it, he was saying that all of us are cowards, but Malcolm will step forward and he'll say, not sell, but he'll say his wolf tickets to these other people, kind of like Red Riding Hood. Watch out for them. Watch out for the wolf and his disguise. Watch out, watch out. Where most of us see this all the time, but we don't do the watch out. Look out, watch your back, watch your back. But so Malcolm was a good, so wolf ticket in this situation represents somebody who's speaking out against the status quo and telling the people who's supposedly below that, yo, watch him. Watch him. Like all of us probably sitting in this session right now wish that there was somebody sold a wolf ticket in 2016. Y'all need to watch DT. Y'all need to watch Danny DeVito. Y'all need to watch him. That would be a wolf ticket in this situation. Of course, the terminology, the use of it colloquially is going to change, that kind of thing. Here, let me read another poem because I got to get out of here in a few. Read another Baraka poem. Here. Damn, there's so many. Dimitri, this one for you, bro. Because I didn't do it the last time all the way out. And I'll do it very slowly. Okay, shuffle. Stinking neon lying lights, betrayed before millions assassinate with slogans. Not old Toms, but new Toms, double Toms, a Tom McCoot. Fresh zombies, house Negro maniacs, Oreo serial killers. This music, this sound, it's not drums, it's not pipes, it's not saxophones, it's shuffling. Not old Toms, new Toms, double Toms, a Tom McCoot. Fresh zombies, okay? Shuffle. Any thoughts? One of my favorite poems. And it's called Incriminating Negrographs. Incriminating Negrographs. And I think it's the most powerful opening of a poem for me in my lifetime. Okay, shuffle. That kills me. That just kills me. Because it just speaks volumes of how I understand the world to be in my lifetime. Okay, shuffle. So shuffle in itself, what does that mean to a black male, me, born and raised in America? Just the word shuffle. All right, just the word shuffle. That could be traumatizing.
They talk about jail cell type of deal.
We back to that. All right, you shuffling because your boys got their ankles chained, right? Basically. All right. Where I come from, and we're two entirely different generations. Shuffle to me It only means, and it wasn't until I met Savion Glover that shuffle changed, the imagery changed. All right. But shuffle to me was like somebody who was following behind the program, even though they know it's wrong. They should be trying to fight against it, but they just falling in line. And it wasn't until I met Savion Glover and started understanding things about tap dance that shuffle meant the same thing to them. Like one of the first things I learned being around Savion and watching them choreograph and teaching other tap dancers, that he would say here, he would go like, okay, no shuffling. Like, and when he said it, I don't know anything about tap dance. I'm not a dancer. But when he said it, the first thought I had was like, oh well, what is he saying? They coons? Are they minstrels? Are they like Uncle Toms? Or what is he saying? But it was about the dance. It was the actual physical construction of the dance. And he didn't want anybody to shuffle because it was cheap. It was tricks. It wasn't steeped in anything historical or anything solid. So a shuffle in tap dance is like a trick. So it went from, as I got better at understanding the terminology of tap dance, shuffle then became tricks, no tricks. So now I'm going like, they be rehearsing and dancing. Even in the show, we be on stage performing and somebody starts to improvise and we're on the stage in front of paying customers. Somebody's improvising and he'll yell loud enough for even the audience to hear, no tricks, in the middle of a performance, no tricks. All right. Because if he'd have said no shuffling, all right, that had probably a different effect on the audience. He'd go like, no tricks, stop with the tricks in the middle of a performance. All right. So the word shuffle to me is a black male in America in 2020. It's got negative connotations attached to it. So there's almost no way that word shuffle could happen around me and I don't get images. I get the wrong images. All right. Okay, shuffle. Stink in neon. Matthew, what's stink in neon? What does that mean?
Reeking of like
think fast, man. Don't even
just the colors like you're wearing. You gotta wear that neon, clothing.
Anybody else? Stink and neon. What is it? Somebody tell me what that means to them.
I think urine.
Say it again.
Urine. Piss.
Damn, that's kind of crazy, huh? I love that. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could chime in a bit.
What's up? What's up?
I would think
neon.
I would think stinking vibrancy. Like it's obvious. Like if it's obvious if you stink and I'm thinking vibrant is like vibrant colors stick out even sometimes at night. So it's something. It's vivid. It's a vivid stink.
So now you're talking about somebody who's written down on a piece of paper or in a book or in their computer words that describe one of the five senses. Smell, right?
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing to be able to do as a writer. I don't care fiction, short stories, poet,
but he's brought two senses together. Stink and neon would not normally, go together, right? Your smell and sight.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay,
he's brought them together.
Let me break it down for you. Because I happen to, I wanted to know. So I asked him. I have to be in a position where I could ask him. Because I would have never known. There's no way I would ever know. So stink and neon, and the next line is lie, L-I-E, in lights. So stink and neon, what he's saying is that people get a chance to be, what's the word? To be out in the world, to be famous.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. So now people who get a chance to be famous usually stink. They suck. They're sorry. They got no talent. All right.
Right.
Now their name is up in here. Stink and neon.
Stink and neon.
Right? So like now here you are. There's your name on the marquee right there. You suck.
Right.
All right. So in other words, if Kenny G's name was on the marquee and John Coltrane's wasn't, we could be like, wait a minute, why Kenny G name up in the light? He stinks. Right. He smells. He sucks. All right. The next line, lie in lights. So now you know you stink. And even though you know you stink, you know you ain't John Coltrane.
Right.
You're gonna give them light. You gotta act like you rolling like that. So stink and neon, lie in lights. Here comes the killer. Betray before millions. Assassinate with slogans. Not old Toms, but new Toms, double Toms, a Tom McCoot. Does anyone know what Tom McCoot is? Tom McCoot. All right. Somebody need to grab their digital device, their rotation device, and just Google in TONMACOUTE and read it back to everybody. Somebody do that. TON space TON space MACOUTE. Anybody?
Okay. The Tom Makut, or simply the Makut, was a special operations unit within the Haitian paramilitary force created in 1959 by their dictator.
Killers. The gunny sat. So now, check this out. So now, Baraka says, not old Toms, Tom. He talk about Uncle Toms, not old Toms, but new Toms. All right. Now he says, Ton Makut, which is what again, Dimitri?
Killers.
Killers, assassination. So now you're up in these lights. You could be really respectable and responsible. You could help other people rise up. And you like the Ton Makut. Because they were the assassination squad for Papa Doc Duvalier in Haiti. And it was time, if somebody was like, Papa Doc says do this, you don't do it, Ton Makut is coming to cut your throat. They coming to kill you. So now he's taking not old Toms, but new Toms, double Toms, a Tom, and he doesn't put T-O-N in the poem. He puts a Tom Makut. And I remember the first time I heard it, because I didn't know what that was. And I'm telling me and a few other our friends, we heard him do it live, and we died. And the people in the audience could not figure out why we was laughing, because they didn't even know Ton. They didn't know Ton. They didn't know the history. So we at least knew Ton Makut, because Ton Makut is based on, there's a story that Haitian parents tell their bad kids when their behavior is bad. I'm gonna call Mr. Gunny Sack. All right. There's a fictional character in Haitian folklore. I'm gonna call Mr. Gunny Sack. You keep acting like that. And the story about Mr. Gunny Sack says he comes and takes bad children at night, puts them in a sack,
and a garbage bag. Ooh, scary. I know that story.
And it's over. So now here's a guy who, I'm talking about Baraka, by just the use of language, just the use. Tom, not old Toms, but new Toms, double Toms, a Tom, not Tom, but Tom Makut. Then he said here, then he filed here, next line, fresh zombies, house Negro maniacs, Oreo serial killers. This thumping, this sound, it's not drums, not music, it's shuffling. Not old Toms, new Toms, Tom Makuts, fresh zombies, okay, shuffle. You could work with this poem forever, breaking it down, analyzing it, the use of language, but what storytelling? And like Dimitri said last time, that he takes a 75-page book of poetry and he can read with it for years. All right. And that's all of us who want to be poets. That's one of the main things we need to be doing. Write stuff that people have to deal with for years. Oh my God. So don't be so concerned about leading people to the water fountain. Let them find their own way. They want to drink bad enough, let them find their own way. You can give them hints and like ideas. Make people work. Challenge people with your writing. Do not dumb. As poets, you cannot dumb anything down. We're above that. Poets are above dumbing down. Poets are above dumbing down. We're all better than that, or we wouldn't call ourselves this thing. How you gonna call yourself that thing and you dumbing people down with cliches, or strategically place sound bites within the framework of your poem, or taking a newspaper headline? How could you take a newspaper headline about George Floyd and it pops up in your poem somewhere? That's ridiculous. If you take any information you get from a newscaster, like people sit and listen to the news and they write poetry behind that nonsense. So if I hear somebody saying, I just heard so-and-so on the 60 Minutes. I just heard him say that. How's that popping up in your poem? That's a cliche that you stealing, that you plagiarizing. You better than that. You call yourself a poet. They're journalists and not a poet. All right. Journalists working off a script. But we're better than that, because the one thing all of us have to be about is truth and beauty. If we're not about that, why even bother? Go write a cookbook. Write a cookbook, you know, because we're all so much better than that, because you do not call yourself a poet. You do not get in this arena because it's hard. It is hard as hell. All of y'all is sitting there know it. It is hard. It's hard work in the language. It's almost impossible to be great at it because the language is so corrupt. After 4 years of Danny Dorito or Donald Dorito, it's worse than it's ever been. It's never been as bad. It's never been as bad. Art/commerce, capitalism. I mean, whatever you want to say. It's our language is used to sell things. As a poet, you don't sell anything. You tell the truth and you find the beauty. Our language, the English language, is used to sell stuff. In America, you use the right words, you could probably sell dirt in a milk container and make money if you use the right words. So our language is about selling, commercialism, capitalism. Poetry's not like that. It's just not like that. I'm gonna end with this because I got to get out of here. Somebody got a question? Anybody? Comment?
Yeah, we are at it's 6:15.
Okay, so let me do one more little piece and I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you all for sharing your time, and because I know everybody's time is valuable. Hope everybody's healthy. End with this. Okay. If you ever find this is Amiri Baraka, I'm sorry. And it was always Untitled. I don't know if there ever was a title, I don't know what it is. If you ever find yourself lost somewhere, surrounded by enemies who won't let you speak in your language, who destroy your instruments and statues, who ban your boom ba boom, you in trouble. They ban your boom ba boom, you in big, big trouble. Might take you several hundred years to get out. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Hope to see y'all again in the future.
Peace, Reg.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.